We throw around the word blessing quite a bit, don't we?
We really do.
From, ancient cultures, seeing divine favor in something as simple as a fish, maybe, to the idea of a good harvest being a blessing for prosperity. It seems like every tradition has its own unique angle on what brings good fortune.
Yeah, it's fascinating how these ideas develop culturally. But today, we're diving into a pretty different understanding of blessings, specifically from the Buddhist text known as the Magala Sutta, or the Discourse on Blessings.
Okay.
And this isn't really about external rituals or, hoping for a lucky charm.
Okay, a Buddhist take on blessings. Interesting. So what makes this one stand out then?
Well, this discourse was actually given by the Buddha himself to both humans and what are often called devas, being sometimes described as luminous or maybe godlike.
Right.
But the crucial point, really, is that it shifts the focus. It moves away from seeking external good fortune towards actively cultivating inner qualities and engaging in practical actions as the true source of blessings.
So it's less about hoping for good luck and more about creating the conditions for it ourselves. Is that the idea?
That's it, precisely.
Yeah.
Our guide through this is Sayalay Susila, who's the abbess of the Appamada Vihari Meditation Center in Malaysia.
Okay.
And she brings just a wealth of experience to this. She dedicated years to intensive meditation practice under respected teachers and has this really deep understanding of Buddhist scriptures.
Right.
She's also shared her insights in books like From This Shore to Far Shore and the Practical Manual of Abhidhamma, making some quite complex teachings pretty accessible.
So we're getting this from someone who really, really knows her stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the situation then that led the Buddha to actually give this discourse?
That's a great question. Apparently, there was this significant debate happening among both humans and these devas about what actually constituted the highest blessing in life.
Ah, okay.
And this went on for a while to the point where Saka, who's kind of like the king of the devas in one of the higher realms, decided, right, let's go directly to the Buddha to get a definitive answer.
Straight to the source.
Exactly. So a deva then approached the Buddha and posed the question in verse, basically asking, tell us, Blessed One, what is life's ultimate blessing?
Wow. So even beings in those, higher realms were trying to figure this out. So our goal today then is to explore the Buddha's response and really understand what the Mangala Sutta pinpoints as these highest blessings.
Exactly. And what emerges is, well, it's a surprisingly down-to-earth and insightful roadmap for a meaningful life, really grounded in our own choices and our inner landscape.
All right, let's get started. Where does the Buddha begin in outlining these blessings? What's the first step?
He starts by laying the foundation for well-being with the first three blessings. And perhaps, maybe unexpectedly, the very first one is not consorting with fools, asavana kabbalana.
Not consorting with fools. Huh. That sounds a bit blunt as the starting point. What's the Buddha's definition of a fool here? Is it just about, intelligence?
It might seem surprising, yeah, compared to common ideas of blessings like, wealth or success. But the Buddha's meaning here goes deeper. He's talking about someone who consistently engages in negative actions, things like harming others, stealing, harmful sexual conduct.
Okay.
Their speech tends to be untruthful, divisive, gossipy. And their inner world, their mind, is dominated by negative states like greed, hatred, and delusion. So it's less about intellectual ability and much more about ethical behavior and negative internal states.
Right, right. It's about the kind of actions and intentions that guide them. So what are the dangers then of associating with people like that?
Well, the Buddha emphasizes the powerful influence our companions have on us. It's huge. If we spend time with those inclined towards negative behavior, say someone who's always involved in reckless or harmful activities, we risk being pulled in that direction ourselves, especially if our own moral compass isn't, firmly set. This can start with seemingly small things, but it can escalate to serious negative habits, maybe even involvement in things like drug trafficking or violence. It's a bit like the saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about the impact of our environment, our social circle, on our own choices.
Exactly. And Sayalay Susila uses this really vivid analogy. If you wrap salted fish in a banana leaf, the leaf will inevitably take on the fish's smell, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, associating with those who engage in negative actions can tarnish our own reputation, even if we aren't directly involved. And more seriously, the text highlights that such associations can even lead to committing what are considered the 5 gravest offenses in Buddhism.
Oh, wow. What are those?
They are harming a Buddha, killing an enlightened being, an arsanta, causing division within the monastic community, killing one's mother and killing one's father. These carry particularly heavy karmic consequences.
Those are some incredibly serious repercussions. The text mentions a wise bodhisattva who specifically wished to avoid fools. What was the reasoning behind that wish?
Well, the Bodhisattva understood that fools operate from a place of basically misunderstanding reality. They don't recognize the value of wholesome actions and instead engage in harmful ones. They also tend to reject truth and wisdom.
Mm.
So if you try to talk to them about things like generosity, ethical conduct, or cultivating inner peace, they're likely to just argue or maybe become angry or simply dismiss it. Because they lack this fundamental understanding of goodness, the Bodhisattva saw avoiding them as a form of self-protection and a blessing in itself.
So it's not about being superior or judgmental, but really about being strategic in who we allow to influence us. The text also mentions Venerable Sariputta's view on fools. What did he say about them?
Yeah, Venerable Sariputta, who was renowned for his wisdom, he expressed a wish to never associate with someone who has negative intentions, is lazy and lacks energy, has little knowledge, and is disrespectful. His point was basically, what positive growth can possibly come from such an association?
Good point. And then there's the really troubling story of King Ajatasattu. How does his experience illustrate this danger of bad company?
Ah, yes. King Ajatasattu. Initially, he followed his father's virtuous example. He was a supporter of the monastic community. But he fell under the sway of the, well, envious and power-hungry Devadatta, who was trying to undermine the Buddha.
Right, Devadatta.
Devadatta manipulated Ajatasattu, exploiting his royal status for his own selfish ends. He poisoned Ajatasattu's mind to the point where the prince actually imprisoned his own father, King Bimbisara,
No.
and ultimately caused his death through starvation. This act of patricide was a direct result of Ajatasattu listening to the harmful counsel of a fool, Devadatta, and it severely impeded his own spiritual development.
That's a really stark example of how profoundly negative associations can impact our lives and our moral compass. The text also refers to the Kafun Mama Sutta. What does the Buddha teach there about the kind of people fools tend to associate with?
In that discourse, the Buddha explains that fools tend to gravitate towards companions who, well, share their lack of positive qualities. They choose friends who lack faith, integrity, and a sense of shame. They also prefer those who are ignorant, lazy, and lack mindfulness and wisdom.
So it's like a negative feedback loop.
Exactly. It creates this kind of negative echo chamber, reinforcing harmful behaviors and leading to further suffering for themselves and, others around them.
It's a good reminder that we shouldn't automatically assume someone is a good guy just because they might hold a religious title or, speak well. We need to look at their actual behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sayalay Susila cautions us against this, emphasizing the crucial need to observe whether their actions actually align with the principles of the Dhamma. If there's a disconnect, then distancing ourselves is really important for our own well-being.
Okay, so the first blessing is about being mindful of who we surround ourselves with, basically avoiding those negative influences. What's the second blessing then?
The second blessing is consorting with the wise, Bhayatanega Sevana. It's the natural counterpart to avoiding fools. Once we create space by stepping away from negative influences, it becomes essential to actively seek out and spend time with the wise.
Right.
This helps us cultivate morality, concentration, and wisdom.
That makes perfect sense. If you're avoiding negativity, you should actively seek out positive influences. So what are the benefits of being around wise people?
Oh, the advantages are numerous. By associating with the wise, we have the opportunity to learn from their virtues, to receive valuable guidance on navigating life's challenges, develop a clear understanding of reality, right view, and grow in our own wisdom. As Sayalay Susila puts it, just like that banana leaf used to wrap a fragrant jasmine flower absorbs its scent.
Ah, yeah.
Spending time with the wise can enhance our own character and earn us respect and trust.
And what defines a wise person in this context? What sort of qualities do they possess?
The wise are described as having a correct understanding of cause and effect, the principle of karma. They have a strong sense of ethical responsibility, a sense of shame and fear of doing wrong, hiriye and ottappa. They possess extensive knowledge of the Buddha's teachings. They are bahusutta, meaning they've heard and retained much, and they diligently practice meditation and cultivate wisdom.
It sounds like they embody the very opposite of what characterizes a fool.
Precisely. And a wise teacher plays a vital role in our development because they point out our shortcomings, even if it's difficult to hear sometimes. The Dhammapada reminds us that we should follow a person of wisdom who rebukes our faults, as we would follow someone who reveals a hidden treasure, because it ultimately leads to our benefit.
We heard about King Ajatasattu's negative experience with bad company. Did he also have an encounter with the wise that led to positive change? Was there a turnaround?
Yes, thankfully. After experiencing deep remorse and suffering due to his actions, King Ajatasattu eventually sought out the Buddha himself.
Ah.
By associating with the Buddha, the ultimate wise teacher, he began a process of positive transformation. He moved from a state of darkness and confusion towards greater clarity, and he developed deep reverence and faith. The Buddha even delivered the Samannaphala Sutta to him. Now, while his past negative karma prevented him from attaining the first stage of enlightenment at that time, his association with the Buddha definitely set him firmly on a better path.
That's a powerful illustration of how the influence of wisdom can really redirect a life. The text also mentions a Jataka tale involving a cannibal king and the Bodhisattva. How does that story fit in here?
This Jataka story dramatically illustrates the transformative power of associating with the wise. The Bodhisattva, through his wisdom, his compassion, and an unwavering commitment to truth, was able to give counsel to a cannibal king, who was actually a past life of the notorious bandit Ogulimala. Even someone with such deeply ingrained harmful tendencies eventually encountered the Buddha, the wisest of teachers, and had the opportunity to recognize his past errors.
Right, Ogulimala, the one who collected fingers. His transformation is one of the most striking in Buddhist teachings, isn't it?
It really is. The encounter with the Buddha was absolutely pivotal. Even though Ogulimala had committed horrific acts, the Buddha's wisdom penetrated his hardened heart. He renounced his violent ways, became a monk, and through dedicated practice, ultimately attained arahantship, full enlightenment.
Amazing.
However, as the text points out, he still experienced the consequences of his past negative karma, like being stoned by villagers later on.
Oh, right.
This highlights that while wise association can lead to profound inner change and even liberation, the effects of past actions aren't simply erased, they still ripen.
So the second blessing is about actively seeking out wise and virtuous companions and teachers.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the third foundational blessing?
The third blessing is paying homage to those worthy of homage, pujaka pujaniyana. This is about showing respect and reverence to those who genuinely deserve it.
Who exactly does the Magala Sutta consider worthy of this kind of deep respect?
Well, primarily it refers to the Buddhas, the fully enlightened ones, and arahants, those who have attained liberation. It also includes other noble beings who have reached significant stages on the path, like anagamis, sakadagamis, and sotapannas.
Okay, those are stages of enlightenment.
Exactly, specific levels marking progress in overcoming defilements. Additionally, it includes diligent monastics who have dedicated their lives to spiritual practice, are knowledgeable in the Buddha's teachings, the suttas, and effectively guide others on the path. Essentially, it's about showing deep respect to those who embody and teach the path to liberation.
And why is paying homage considered a blessing? What benefit does it bring to us?
Well, paying homage is an outward expression of gratitude for their wisdom, their dedication, the guidance they offer. But it also serves as a really powerful antidote to our own pride and ego.
Ah.
By recognizing and revering the virtues of others, we humble ourselves, and that opens us up to learning from their example and their teachings.
The text mentions traditional Buddhist customs for showing respect. Can you give us some examples of that?
Yes, there are various ways respect is traditionally shown. Monks, for instance, will bow to elder monks. And in monastic communities, seating arrangements, the order of receiving alms food, these are often determined by seniority and spiritual attainment.
Right.
Lay practitioners show respect to monastics through bowing, offering them the first portion of food, seeking their guidance. And they also traditionally show respect to their elders and teachers in their daily lives. Sayalay Susila shares an observation about some short-term nuns who perhaps didn't show the expected respect to a senior nun, highlighting that the understanding and practice of this blessing can vary.
It sounds like showing respect isn't just about, following social norms. It has a deeper spiritual significance.
Exactly. Respectful behavior encourages those who are more experienced and knowledgeable to share their wisdom and guidance with you. Conversely, a lack of respect can create a barrier, hindering learning and receiving valuable advice. And as this section of the Magala Sutta concludes, it emphasizes that these first three blessings, avoiding negative influences, associating with the wise, and paying homage to the worthy lives, they create the fundamental conditions that can ultimately lead towards Nibbāna and also favorable rebirths along the way.
Okay, so these initial three blessings really set the stage for a positive and ultimately liberating life. What's the next set of blessings in the discourse? Where do we go from here?
The next three blessings shift our focus slightly, more towards the importance of our environment and our own ability to direct ourselves wisely. So the fourth blessing is living in a suitable location, parispadhisavaso.
What makes a location suitable from a Buddhist perspective? Is it about, scenic beauty or peaceful surroundings?
Well, peaceful surroundings can certainly be helpful, no doubt. But from a Buddhist standpoint, a suitable place is primarily one where there are monastics and dedicated lay practitioners actively engaged in practicing the Dhamma.
Ah, okay.
Such an environment provides readily available opportunities to learn the teachings and develop right understanding. The text mentions that in many Southeast Asian countries like Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Thailand, monks play a really crucial role in teaching moral principles and guiding lay people in their spiritual lives.
So it's about being in a community that actively supports and encourages spiritual growth.
Precisely. Living in such a place makes it easier to learn how to approach difficulties with the right perspective, to gain clarity on life's challenges, solve problems with wisdom that's informed by the Dhamma, and ultimately experience greater inner peace and happiness. It also offers the opportunity to support the Sangha, the monastic community, by providing the four essential requisites: food, shelter, clothing, medicine, and also offering practical service to the monastery. These acts of generosity create positive karma, leading to better future rebirths and continued progress. And furthermore, a supportive environment can significantly facilitate your own meditation practice and aid in letting go of craving for sensory pleasures and the illusion of a permanent self.
The text shares that well-known story of Mencius's mother moving 3 times to find the right environment for her son's upbringing. That really highlights the impact of our surroundings, doesn't it?
It really does. Mencius's mother understood the profound influence of environment on a child's development, and she actively sought a place where he would be exposed to positive role models and have opportunities for learning and cultivating good character. The text contrasts this with the negative impact of environments like, say, impoverished areas where children might be often exposed to violence and harmful influences.
So a blessed land isn't necessarily about a specific geographical location, but more about the presence of virtue, wisdom, and Dhamma practice within that place.
Exactly. Sayalay Susila emphasizes that a blessed land is characterized by the presence of monks, nuns, and dedicated lay practitioners, or even just good Buddhist neighbors living ethical lives. The key is being in a setting that supports our wholesome development.
Okay. Now, the fifth blessing is having made merit in the past. Pube ka kata puninata. How do our past good actions contribute to blessings in our current life?
Well, the very fact that we might find ourselves in a suitable location or have access to the Dhamma or encounter wise friends, this is often seen as a result of positive karma accumulated in the past.
Ah, interesting.
The text lists the 10 meritorious deeds, dasa pungin kiryavatu, that generate this good karma. Things like giving, ethical conduct, meditation, showing reverence, offering service, dedicating merit to others, rejoicing in others' merit, listening to the Dhamma, teaching the Dhamma, and cultivating right understanding.
So, our current circumstances and opportunities aren't just random. They're actually deeply connected to our past choices and actions.
Precisely. Past merit blesses us with favorable conditions in the present, including the precious opportunity to hear the true Dhamma and associate with wise individuals who can guide us on the spiritual path. These wholesome deeds are incredibly valuable throughout the long journey of samsara, the cycle of birth and death, leading to more favorable rebirths and continued progress towards liberation. Even the capacity to engage in meaningful meditation practice can be seen as a result of past merit, leading to present insight. There are stories where disciples attain enlightenment upon hearing even a short teaching.
The story of Venerable Mahakakarana's past aspiration and the merit he accumulated by offering meals to the Buddha really exemplifies the long-term impact of wholesome actions, doesn't it? It's quite striking.
Yes, it beautifully illustrates how a noble intention made way back in the past, combined with consistent meritorious actions, can ripen over countless lifetimes and eventually lead to significant spiritual achievements in the present. It's a long game.
It really is. Okay, the sixth of these initial blessings is directing oneself rightly. Atta samapajiti. What does it truly mean to direct oneself rightly from a Buddhist perspective?
Rightly directing oneself involves having right faith and a clear understanding of the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma, his teachings, and the Sangha, the monastic community, as our ultimate refuge and source of reliable guidance. It's about recognizing that these are the true sources of wisdom and support on the path to liberation from suffering.
So it's about having a clear spiritual compass and knowing where to turn for genuine guidance.
Exactly. Once we have taken refuge in the triple gem, we understand that we shouldn't seek ultimate or lasting blessings from, say, gods or other worldly beings who are themselves still subject to defilements and the cycle of rebirth.
Right.
While they might experience periods of happiness in higher realms due to their past good karma, that merit will eventually run out, and they'll be reborn according to their subsequent actions. Our ultimate reliance should be on the purified triple gem. The text also emphasizes that rightly directing oneself includes understanding the core purpose of monastic life, which is to learn the Dhamma, practice meditation, patipati, realize Nibbāna, padaveta, and also to preserve and share the Dhamma for the benefit of all beings.
Okay, so these first 6 blessings cover crucial ground. Being mindful of our influences, seeking wisdom, honoring the worthy, choosing a supportive environment, recognizing the impact of our past actions, and having a clear spiritual direction. What are the next blessings focused on?
The next 4 blessings focus more on cultivating our intellectual and practical abilities. The 7th blessing is broad knowledge, bahusaka.
What kind of knowledge is considered a blessing in this context? Is it like general education or something more specific?
Well, while general knowledge certainly has its value, in this context, broad knowledge primarily refers to extensive knowledge of the Dhamma, the Buddhist teachings.
Ah, okay.
This is considered a blessing because it acts as a guide, leading us away from harmful actions and towards beneficial ones. It does this by deepening our understanding of the principle of causality, or karma. Without a clear grasp of what is wholesome and unwholesome, it's really difficult to make wise choices that lead to well-being. And the text emphasizes that learning and practicing the Dhamma are interconnected, mutually reinforcing aspects of this blessing.
So it's not just about accumulating information like book learning, but about deeply understanding the principles that lead to liberation and true happiness.
Precisely. The Buddha taught about different levels of happiness. You've got earthly happiness derived from material comforts and relationships, then heavenly happiness experienced in higher realms as a result of good deeds, and finally the ultimate happiness of Nibbāna, the cessation of suffering. Broad knowledge of the Dhamma helps us understand the causes that lead to each of these. For instance, it teaches us about the 10 meritorious deeds that lead to favorable rebirths, and the cultivation of morality, concentration, and wisdom that ultimately leads to Nibbāna. And a key way to acquire this broad knowledge is by consistently listening to the Dhamma, which helps to correct wrong views and also empowers us to guide others on their spiritual journeys too.
Okay. The 8th blessing is skill, supanya. This seems more practical, maybe more related to our worldly life.
It is. Having skills and being proficient in a craft or trade is considered a blessing because it fosters independence, it reduces the likelihood of engaging in harmful activities out of necessity, and it enables one to support oneself and one's family. Skilled individuals are less likely to resort to unethical means of earning a living.
The text shares a cautionary tale about Mahadana and his wealthy wife who lacked practical skills. How does that illustrate this blessing?
This story vividly illustrates the importance of having practical skills, regardless of your initial circumstances. Mahadana and his wife, they grew up in extreme wealth and never learned any practical skills or how to manage resources.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So when their parents' wealth disappeared, they were left utterly helpless and unable to provide for themselves. This really highlights that material possessions are impermanent, and having skills provides a crucial foundation for navigating the inevitable uncertainties of life. Sayalay Susila cautions against raising children in a way that prevents them from learning essential life skills and developing resilience, as they'll be ill-prepared to face the impermanence of worldly conditions.
That's a really valuable reminder about the importance of self-reliance in navigating life, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, the 9th blessing is well-trained in discipline, vinayo kasusikito. What kind of discipline is being referred to here?
Discipline, in this context, refers to the ethical code of conduct for both lay practitioners and monastics, the guidelines for what to do and what to refrain from doing. For lay people, this primarily involves diligently avoiding the 10 unwholesome actions, which things like harming living beings, stealing, engaging in sexual misconduct, lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, idle chatter, greed, ill will, and wrong views. Sayalay Susila also emphasizes avoiding gambling and intoxicants as part of this. For monastics, it refers to the more extensive set of rules called the Patimokkha.
Okay, so it's about cultivating moral integrity in our actions, speech, and thoughts. Why is this considered such a high blessing?
Well, being well trained in discipline leads to a life of integrity, inner peace, and freedom from the torment of guilt and remorse. When individuals in a community adhere to these ethical principles, it fosters trust, harmony, and mutual respect. Conversely, those who engage in unwholesome deeds often experience fear and worry about the consequences. The Biographical Sutta highlights how impure conduct of body, speech, and mind gives rise to unskillful fear and dread.
The text mentions a story from the Dhammapada commentary about a monk and a golden egg. How does that illustrate the importance of these precepts?
Huh. This story beautifully illustrates the compassionate aspect of upholding the precepts. A monk chose to endure physical harm rather than reveal that a goose had swallowed a golden egg because he knew the layman would likely kill the goose to get it.
Wow.
It demonstrates the depth of commitment to non-harming that comes with sincere ethical practice. Similarly, the story of the layman in Sri Lanka who hesitated to kill a python because he had recently received the 5 precepts shows the protective power of these guidelines. They prevent us from acting on harmful impulses, even in challenging situations.
It's about cultivating that inner restraint and consciously choosing ethical behavior, even when it's difficult. What is the 10th of these blessings focused on wisdom and skill?
The 10th blessing is well-spoken words, suhasita kajavaka. This refers to speech that is truthful, sincere, gentle, and beneficial.
So it's not just about the content of what we say, but also the manner in which we say it and the underlying intention. Is that right?
Precisely. Well-spoken words have the power to foster positive relationships and avoid causing unnecessary discomfort or resentment. While, flattering speech might seem pleasing in the short term, it lacks sincerity and truthfulness, so it's not considered a blessing. True well-spoken words have a constructive and positive impact. The Sutta Nibbāna defines well-spoken words as being the best kind of speech. Just, not unjust. Endearing, not offensive. And true, not false.
It's a powerful reminder that our words carry real weight and can significantly shape our interactions and our relationships. Phew. These first 10 blessings cover a lot from our inner development to our practical skills and our interactions with the world. What comes next?
The next 3 blessings focus more on our responsibilities within the context of family and community. The 11th blessing is support for one's parents.
Matapitu Patana.
This is a value that's emphasized in many cultures, isn't it? What's the specific Buddhist perspective on supporting one's parents? Supporting one's parents is indeed held in very high regard in Buddhism. The text acknowledges the changing dynamics in modern society, but still underscores its fundamental importance. It shares a deeply moving Jataka story about the Bodhisattva in a past life as the father of Venerable Mahakassapa, who demonstrated extraordinary filial piety by caring for his blind parents in a challenging environment, even when he himself was injured.
Oh, wow.
The Buddha himself stated in the Yogacara Nikaya that repaying the kindness of one's parents is an incredibly difficult task, highlighting the depth of their contribution to our lives.
That story of the injured bodhisattva caring for his parents is incredibly powerful. It really emphasizes selfless love and responsibility.
It does. It highlights the profound gratitude and sense of duty that children should cultivate towards their parents. The text also recounts the story of Venerable Sariputta returning to his hometown to attain Nibbāna with the support and blessing of his mother, illustrating the enduring and reciprocal nature of this bond, even within a deeply spiritual context.
So supporting our parents isn't just a social obligation. It's seen as a deeply meaningful spiritual practice and a significant blessing in itself. What's the 12th blessing?
The 12th blessing is assistance to one's wife and children, Puttadarasa Sagaho. This shifts the focus to the responsibilities of lay life within the immediate family unit.
It's interesting that care for one's family is listed as a high blessing. Sometimes you hear more emphasis on renunciation in spiritual teachings.
That's a crucial point. While monastic life is highly valued for those seeking full-time spiritual practice, the Buddha also provided a clear path for lay practitioners. And for lay people, responsibly caring for their wife and children is a primary duty and a significant blessing. This includes husbands being loyal, considerate, and respectful towards their wives, and both parents nurturing their children, providing for their material and emotional needs, guiding them away from harmful behavior, and supporting their education and skill development. Mutual respect, understanding, and loyalty between spouses are essential for creating a harmonious family environment, which in turn provides a stable foundation for everyone's well-being.
It sounds like a very balanced and compassionate view of family life, recognizing its importance for lay practitioners. What's the 13th blessing in this section on social responsibility?
The 13th blessing is engaging in a faultless occupation, anakula kakamanta. This refers to earning one's livelihood through ethical and honest means, avoiding occupations that cause harm or exploit others.
What kinds of occupations would be considered faultless from a Buddhist perspective? Are there specific guidelines?
Well, a faultless occupation is one that avoids any involvement in illicit activities, deception, exploitation, or fraud. Specifically, the text mentions 5 types of trades that are strongly discouraged for Buddhist practitioners because they directly contribute to suffering.
What are those?
Trading in weapons, trading in living beings, like animals for slaughter, or even human trafficking slavery, trading in meat, trading in intoxicants, and trading in poisons.
Okay, that's quite clear. The story of the Butcher Kunda sounds like a very stark illustration of the negative karmic consequences of a harmful livelihood.
It is a rather unsettling tale, yes,
Yeah.
but it powerfully illustrates the immediate negative karma, called Diya Vidaniya karma, that can result from engaging in a harmful profession. Kunda's intense suffering in his final moments served as a clear indication of the woeful rebirth that likely awaited him. This emphasizes the critical importance of considering the long-term karmic effects of our chosen livelihood and striving for occupations that are ethically sound and contribute to well-being rather than harm. The text also briefly mentions the kinds of wrong livelihoods that monks should avoid, as outlined in the Samanyaphala Sutta, which include various forms of divination and manipulation for material gain.
So these blessings concerning family and our work life really highlight the ethical dimension of our daily existence and how it contributes to or detracts from our well-being and the well-being of others. What comes next in the discourse?
The next 7 blessings delve into the cultivation of generosity and other essential, wholesome inner qualities. The 14th blessing is simply giving. Giving. That's a core principle in so many spiritual traditions. What's the specific emphasis on giving as a blessing in Buddhism? Giving is highly praised by the Buddha as a fundamental blessing. It leads to numerous positive outcomes, including material prosperity, a good reputation, the cultivation of loving relationships, and favorable rebirths. Perhaps even more importantly, it serves as a potent antidote to the defilements of greed, selfishness, and attachment. The text emphasizes that the motivation and attitude behind the giving are crucial. It should be done with respect and a genuine wish to benefit others, not out of arrogance or a desire for recognition. And, importantly, the items given should have been acquired through ethical means.
So it's not just the outward act, but the inner intention that truly matters. The text mentions Bill Gates as an example of someone known for extensive charitable giving.
Yes, it uses him as a contemporary example of how individuals who engage in significant acts of generosity naturally earn a widespread positive reputation. The text also underscores the reciprocal relationship between the lay and monastic communities. Lay practitioners support the monastic spiritual practice and their efforts to preserve and share the Dhamma through their acts of giving, while the monastics provide spiritual guidance and teachings in return. The Buddha himself advised householders to thoughtfully manage their wealth, even suggesting dividing it into 4 portions, with one allocated specifically for acts of generosity.
It sounds like giving is viewed almost as an investment, both in this life and in our future spiritual journey.
Absolutely. The text connects the practice of giving to a sense of confidence and peace at the time of death, and to the likelihood of favorable rebirths. It contrasts generous individuals with those who are stingy and cling to their possessions, potentially leading to less fortunate rebirths. It also reminds us that giving is the first of the 10 primary ways of making merit, briefly outlining the other 9, which include ethical conduct, meditation practice, showing reverence, offering service, dedicating merit, rejoicing in merit, listening to Dhamma, teaching Dhamma, and cultivating right understanding.
Okay. The 15th blessing is living in rectitude, Dhammakarya. What does it mean to live in rectitude according to the Dhamma?
Living in rectitude essentially means actively practicing the principles of the Dhamma in our daily lives. This encompasses those 10 meritorious deeds we just discussed, but more broadly, it involves making a conscious and consistent effort to avoid unwholesome actions in thought, speech, and behavior, while diligently cultivating wholesome mental states through mindfulness, wisdom, and sustained effort. Engaging in this kind of Dhamma practice serves as a powerful protection against negative rebirths and ultimately leads toward the lasting happiness of Nibbāna.
So it's about actively aligning our lives with the ethical and spiritual principles of the Buddha's teachings. Okay, the 16th blessing is assistance to one's relatives, yetakananya kasagaho.
This blessing highlights the importance of fostering strong and supportive relationships within our families and close circles. It emphasizes the need to offer practical assistance to our relatives in times of need, whether that's financial support, emotional comfort, or spiritual guidance. The Sigalovada Sutta outlined 5 ways we should serve our friends and relatives: being generous, using kind speech, working for their welfare, being consistent in our support, and not abandoning them in times of
Really
difficulty.
great.
And in turn, the text describes how friends and relatives will likely reciprocate such support.
It's a reminder that nurturing our close relationships and being there for our loved ones is itself a form of blessing. The 17th blessing is deeds that are blameless. Anabhajani Kamani. This seems fairly self-explanatory,
It
right?
is pretty much.
No.
Blameless deeds are simply those actions that are free from the 10 unwholesome actions we discussed earlier. Engaging in such deeds leads to a sense of inner peace, a clear conscience, and contributes to a more harmonious and just society by minimizing harm and suffering for ourselves and others.
Okay. The 18th and 19th blessings are presented together as avoiding and refraining from evil, arati virati papa. What's the distinction being made here between avoiding and refraining? Is there a subtle difference?
Yes, there is. Arati refers more to the mental aspect of avoiding evil, cultivating a mind that turns away from unwholesome thoughts and intentions. Garati, on the other hand, is the outward expression of this mental state, the actual abstaining from engaging in unwholesome deeds and harmful speech.
Ah, I see.
The text emphasizes that controlling and training the mind is fundamental to avoiding evil, as highlighted in the opening verses of the Dhammapada, which state that the mind is the primary force behind all our actions and experiences. By cultivating a mind that recoils from evil, we naturally refrain from acting and speaking in ways that cause harm.
So it's about both our inner moral compass and our outward ethical conduct working together. Okay. The 20th blessing is refraining from intoxicants, Majjapanaka Sanyamo. This is also one of the 5 fundamental precepts for lay Buddhists, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Abstaining from intoxicants, including alcohol and drugs that cloud the mind, is a crucial precept because these substances impair judgment, weaken our self-control, and can lead to chaotic behavior and a whole range of negative actions.
Mm-hmm.
The text vividly describes how intoxication affects our speech, our conduct, and our mental clarity, increasing the likelihood of violence, crime, and the abandonment of our ethical principles. It also mentions the potential for lethal consequences from overdoses and the often overlooked fact that alcohol, despite its social acceptance in many places, is indeed an intoxicant with significant risks.
The examples of Amy Winehouse and the historical figure Zhang Fei really bring home the potential for tragedy associated with intoxication.
They certainly do. The text also touches upon the long-term health consequences of chronic alcohol use and the serious dangers of drunk driving, highlighting the widespread harm that intoxicants can cause. It even references the Islamic prohibition of alcohol, indicating a broader recognition of its detrimental effects across different traditions. While some might argue that intoxicants can enhance social gatherings, or alleviate sorrow, or lower inhibitions, the text underscores the importance of a clear and sober mind for engaging in wholesome actions and progressing on the path to liberation. It even suggests a potential link between lifelong substance abuse and mental instability in future lives.
It's a strong and clear message about the dangers of something that's often quite normalized in many societies. The 21st blessing is being heedful of the qualities of the mind, apamado kadamesu. What does heedful mean in this context? What is appamada?
Appamada translates to diligence, earnestness, and mindfulness in practicing the Dhamma. It means being attentive and not negligent in our spiritual development. It involves recognizing the impermanent nature of life and the inevitability of aging, sickness, and death,
Right.
which should inspire us to apply ourselves diligently to our spiritual practice as our truest refuge. The text outlines several key practices for cultivating this heedfulness. Things like regularly recollecting the virtues of the Triple Gem, listening to Dhamma teachings, associating with wise and virtuous individuals, diligently upholding the ethical precepts, developing concentration through meditation, contemplating the impermanent nature of all things, and cultivating wisdom to release our attachments.
So it's about maintaining a consistent and mindful engagement with the path to liberation, not becoming complacent or losing our focus along the way. These 7 blessings really emphasize the cultivation of our inner character and our ethical conduct in the world. What are the next blessings focused on? Where do we go now?
The next 9 blessings turn our attention towards cultivating inner excellence and actively seeking higher truths. The 22nd blessing is respect, Garva.
Okay, we touched on paying homage earlier. How is this different from simply having respect? Is it a broader concept?
Yes, while paying homage, puja, often involves more formal acts of reverence, respect, garva, in this context, is a more general attitude of deep esteem and honor that we cultivate towards elders, monastics, teachers, and anyone who embodies wisdom and virtue. It's considered a high blessing because it creates a conducive atmosphere for learning, growth, and the transmission of wisdom. The story of Rahula's exemplary respectfulness when he was wrongly accused illustrates this beautifully.
Yes, instead of defending himself, he just carried out his task of cleaning. That's a powerful demonstration of humility stemming from respect, isn't it?
It really is. The text emphasizes that teachers are more likely to share their knowledge and insights with students who show genuine respect. And cultivating respect can even lead to more favorable rebirths, according to the principles of karma. Sayalay Susila shares a personal reflection on a time when she felt she lost respect for her teacher and the teacher's gentle reminder, highlighting the importance of maintaining this attitude. But while we should be respectful, the text also wisely cautions against blindly honoring unreasonable requests that might stem from greed or harmful intentions.
Right, discernment is key.
Exactly. Discernment is needed. It also notes the Buddha's emphasis on the importance of listening attentively and respectfully to the Dhamma teachings themselves.
So, respect is about fostering an environment of open communication, learning, and mutual understanding. Okay. The 23rd blessing is humility, Nibbāna. This seems closely linked to respect.
It is indeed very closely linked. Humility is a crucial quality for effective learning and spiritual growth, because a proud or arrogant person, believing themselves already knowledgeable or superior, will be resistant to receiving new teachings or acknowledging their own limitations.
Yeah, the cup is full.
Exactly, the cup is full. Humility here means not being conceited or boastful about various temporary attainments like social status, physical appearance, wealth, or intellectual abilities. We're also advised against looking down on those who may seem to be in less fortunate circumstances, always recognizing the impermanent nature of all worldly conditions. A humble person is characterized by their lack of boastfulness, their respectful demeanor, their amicable nature contrasting sharply with the isolation and negativity that often accompany arrogance. And the karmic consequence of arrogance is said to be rebirth in lower realms. Venerable Sariputta's extraordinary humility in his interactions with both senior monks and even young novices serves as a profound example of this virtue.
That story of Sariputta accepting correction from a 7-year-old novice is truly inspiring. It shows that true wisdom is often accompanied by profound humility. What's the 24th blessing?
The 24th blessing is contentment, santuhi. This refers to being satisfied with what one has and not constantly craving what one lacks.
In a society that often, bombards us with messages about needing more and more, contentment can feel like a really radical idea. Why is it considered such a significant blessing?
Well, contentment is a direct path to inner peace. The text challenges the common notion that endless discontent is the primary driver of progress, highlighting the negative consequences of unchecked desires like exploitation of resources, environmental degradation, stress-related illnesses. The Buddha himself declared that contentment is the greatest wealth. There is a simple anecdote of the woman who constantly complained about her small house until she witnessed the plight of the homeless. It beautifully illustrates how shifting our perspective can reveal the blessings we already possess. The text wisely cautions against the relentless pursuit of material possessions at the expense of our mental and emotional well-being, and shares a Jataka story about the contented bodhisattva living a simple life in the Himalayas.
It's a powerful reminder that true fulfillment comes from within, doesn't it? Not from the endless accumulation of external things. Okay, the 25th blessing is gratitude. Katanyuta.
Gratitude. This is a quality that the Buddha highly praised, noting that a truly grateful person is actually quite rare. It's considered a supreme blessing. We are encouraged to cultivate gratitude towards our parents, our teachers, anyone who has offered us help or kindness, and especially towards the Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, for providing the path to liberation. Gratitude towards the Buddha for discovering the path, and towards the monastic community for preserving and transmitting the teachings, is particularly emphasized. The text encourages us to support monastics with the 4 requisites, and even to be thankful for challenges, as they can be powerful catalysts for our inner growth. The Jataka tale of the grateful bird and the contrasting story of the ungrateful husband powerfully illustrate the positive and negative consequences of gratitude and ingratitude.
It sounds like cultivating gratitude fosters a positive and appreciative perspective on life, enriching our experiences and our relationships. Okay, the 26th blessing is hearing the Dhamma on timely occasions. Kalena Dhammasavane. Why is the timing considered so important here? We heard about listening to the Dhamma earlier.
Yes, listening to the Dhamma at appropriate times helps to clarify our understanding, resolve our doubts, and propel us forward on our spiritual path when we might be most receptive or in need. The text lists several examples of timely occasions, like the observance days, upasatha days, or when our minds naturally incline towards spiritual teachings, or during periods of suffering or distress when we are seeking solace and guidance, and also when we are contemplating our own mortality.
Ah, okay.
Stories like Kisa Gotami finding comfort and wisdom in the Dhamma during her profound grief, or Yasa's awakening after witnessing the unpleasant realities of his previous indulgent life, and the teachings in the Anathapindikavada Sutta given to Anathapindika as he lay on his deathbed, they all highlight the transformative power of hearing the Dhamma at just the right moment.
It's about being open and receptive to wisdom when we need it most and when we are most likely to truly benefit from it. That makes sense. The 27th blessing is patience, Kanti.
Patience, a vital virtue. It encompasses self-control and the ability to endure hardship or pain caused by others without succumbing to anger or resentment. It's crucial for maintaining harmonious relationships and navigating the inevitable challenges of life. The text mentions the Chinese character for patience, which visually represents a knife over the heart, illustrating the difficulty of enduring pain without reacting negatively. It emphasizes the importance of reflecting on the principle of karma and its results as a way to accept unpleasant experiences with greater equanimity. The stories of the Buddha patiently enduring false accusations and Saka, the king of the Devas, patiently tolerating insults from a defeated adversary, both demonstrate the strength and wisdom inherent in patience. However, the text also clarifies that patience shouldn't be mistaken for cowardice. While enduring unavoidable suffering is wise, unjust situations should still be addressed appropriately.
So it's about cultivating inner strength and resilience in the face of adversity, guided by wisdom and discernment. Okay. The 28th blessing is compliance, Savakasata. What does it mean to be compliant in a spiritual context? Does it mean blindly following instructions?
No, not at all. Compliance here refers to receiving guidance, feedback, and even criticism with an open mind, goodwill, and humility. It's essential for learning and growth. The Anumana Sutta describes the characteristics of individuals who are difficult and easy to instruct. Those who are hard to teach tend to be impatient, disrespectful, defensive. The text uses the analogy of a vase with a hole to describe someone who doesn't readily accept feedback. Any wisdom shared just leaks away. Sayalay Susila shares her own experience of being grateful for a teacher's willingness to receive her feedback, and also her observations of students who become defensive when offered guidance. The Dhammapada wisely advises us to regard someone who points out our faults as we would someone who reveals hidden treasure. And the Buddha himself employed both gentle and sometimes more direct methods of training, tailoring his approach to the individual's needs.
It's about having a receptive attitude and recognizing that we can learn from others, even when it involves hearing things we might not initially want to hear. The 29th blessing is seeing recluses, Samananyaka Dasanas. Why is encountering those who have renounced the worldly life considered such a high blessing?
Encountering those who have dedicated their lives to spiritual practice and renounced worldly pursuits can be a really powerful source of inspiration, guidance, and faith. The text recounts how seeing a wandering ascetic deeply inspired Prince Seta to embark on his own great renunciation.
Ah, yes.
The story of Sariputta meeting Venerable Asaji and being struck by his serene demeanor, which led to Sariputta's initial profound understanding of the Dhamma, is another key example. The account of Matakakoli, who developed faith and experienced a good rebirth simply by seeing the Buddha, further illustrates the impact of such encounters. Recluses play a vital role in preserving, practicing, and teaching the Dhamma. The text even touches upon the growing scientific recognition of the interconnectedness of mental and physical well-being, suggesting a broader societal benefit from the principles embodied by those dedicated to spiritual practice.
It's about being inspired by the example of those fully committed to the spiritual path and drawing wisdom from their dedication. Okay. The 30th blessing is discussing the Dhamma on timely occasions. Kalena Dhammasakacha. We've heard about the importance of timely hearing of the Dhamma. How is timely discussion different, and why is it a blessing?
Discussing the Dhamma helps to deepen our understanding, clarify any confusion or doubts we might have, and foster intellectual and spiritual growth through the exchange of insights. It's more interactive. The text shares a cautionary tale of a meditation student who experienced unusual phenomena and received incorrect guidance due to a lack of proper discussion with experienced practitioners.
Oh, that sounds problematic.
Exactly. It highlights the dangers of practicing in isolation without sound counsel. It also advises against those with limited experience attempting to instruct others, and stresses the importance of seeking guidance from qualified and knowledgeable teachers. The story of Venerable Anuruddha receiving timely advice from Venerable Sariputta, which helped him overcome subtle hindrances and ultimately attain liberation, powerfully illustrates the benefits of engaging in thoughtful and timely discussions about the Dhamma with those further along the path.
So it's an active engagement with the teachings, where we can test our understanding, resolve doubts, and gain new perspectives through dialogue with others who are also striving on the path.
Okay, wow, we've journeyed through 30 blessings so far. What are the final blessings that lead to the highest spiritual attainments?
The final 4 blessings point directly towards the ultimate goals of Buddhist practice. The 31st blessing is austerity, tapo.
Austerity. That can sometimes have connotations of, harsh self-denial. What does it mean in this specific context?
Here, tapo is explained as both self-restraint and diligent effort. It involves intentionally reducing our indulgence in unwholesome desires and habits like overeating, excessive sleep, frivolous entertainment, while also actively arousing right effort to cultivate wholesome qualities.
This includes guarding our senses to prevent negative impressions from taking root, and, importantly, diligently restraining anger as a major obstacle to inner peace. Diligence in this context also refers to cultivating the 4 immeasurable qualities, the Brahma Viharas: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. The Jataka story of the strong monkey, the Bodhisattva, rescuing the ungrateful Brahmin, illustrates this kind of determined effort and resilience in the face of hardship.
So it's about inner discipline, self-control, and persistent effort in cultivating virtuous qualities and overcoming negative tendencies.
Oh.
Okay.
The 32nd blessing is celibacy, brahmacharya.
Brahmacharya literally translates to holy life. For monastics, this entails strict celibacy. For lay practitioners, it primarily means refraining from sexual misconduct and honoring the commitment to their partner. However, its deeper meaning encompasses the entirety of the threefold training: ethical conduct, sila, mental concentration, samadhi, and wisdom, panya, which together lead to liberation. It's a commitment to a life of purity and ethical integrity, whether in the monastic or lay context, that supports our spiritual progress.
Got it. The 33rd blessing is seeing the noble truths, Arya Sakana Dasana. This sounds like a really pivotal moment on the path.
It is indeed. Seeing the 4 noble truths, the truth of suffering, dukkha, the truth of the origin of suffering, samudaya, which is craving, the truth of the cessation of suffering, nirodha, which is nibbāna, and the truth of the path to the cessation of suffering, magga, the noble eightfold path. Seeing these with clear wisdom is considered a supreme blessing. Understanding the fundamental nature of suffering and its root cause in our attachments and desires is the essential foundation for embarking on the path to liberation.
And finally, the 34th blessing, realizing Nibbāna, Nibbāna Satchikirya. This is the ultimate aim of Buddhist practice, isn't it? The end goal.
Yes, the direct realization of Nibbāna, the complete cessation of suffering and liberation from the cycle of rebirth, is the ultimate and highest blessing described in Buddhist teachings. So, these final 4 blessings really chart the course toward the highest spiritual attainments, culminating in the complete freedom of Nibbāna. The Mogala Sutta concludes with a powerful verse describing the characteristics of an enlightened being, an arahant. Can you share that with us?
Yes, the concluding verse describes a mind that, when confronted by the vicissitudes of the world, the ups and downs remains unshaken. Futasa lokatamehi titayasana kampati, is free from sorrow, asokai, is stainless, virjai, and experiences true security.
Kima, these sound like qualities of profound inner freedom and peace. Let's break them down a bit. What are these ways of the world that an unshaken mind isn't moved by?
These are often called the 8 worldly conditions or worldly winds: gain and loss, fame and disrepute, praise and blame, and pleasure and pain. There's a humorous anecdote about Sudong Po and the monk Fo Yin that illustrates our typical attachment to praise and aversion to criticism. The Buddha explains that an untrained person is deeply affected by these conditions, constantly chasing after the pleasant and resisting the unpleasant, thereby remaining bound to suffering. A well-trained noble disciple, however, understands the impermanent nature of these conditions and doesn't allow them to dictate their inner state. The inspiring story of Visakha maintaining her composure even upon the death of her beloved grandson, and Venerable Sariputta's teachings on the impermanence of all worldly qualities further highlight this. Even the Buddha himself faced numerous worldly challenges, like false accusations and verbal abuse, yet remained completely unshaken in his inner peace.
So it's about cultivating a deep sense of equanimity in the face of life's inevitable ups and downs. And what does it mean to be sorrowless and stainless?
Sorrowlessness, asoka, signifies being completely free from sorrow and grief because the root causes of suffering, craving, and attachment have been completely eradicated. Stainlessness, viraja, refers to a mind that is utterly pure, free from all mental defilements. An arahant, having completely purified their mind, experiences this state.
And finally, secure. What kind of security is being referred to here? Is it financial security?
Secure, kamai, means being truly safe and protected from all forms of suffering and the possibility of future rebirth driven by defilements. It's an ultimate security. This absolute and lasting security is found only in the unconditioned reality of Nibbāna. The inspiring examples of Venerable Upasena's serene reaction to being bitten by a venomous viper and the 7-year-old Samachara attaining arahantship while having his head shaved vividly demonstrate these extraordinary qualities of an unshaken, sorrowless, stainless, and secure mind. There's a verse from the Therigatha that poignantly asks where anger could possibly arise in one who is completely free from anger.
These final qualities paint such a powerful picture of ultimate inner peace and liberation. Wow, it's been an incredible journey through these 38 blessings.
Indeed. And the Buddha concludes the Mangala Sutta with a powerful summary verse, reiterating that those who diligently practice these 38 blessings will be victorious in all circumstances and experience well-being wherever they go. He even emphasizes that the very first verse alone, outlining the importance of avoiding fools, associating with the wise, and honoring the worthy, provides a fundamental and sufficient guide for living an auspicious life.
It's a profound reminder, isn't it, that true blessings aren't something we passively receive, but something we actively cultivate through our own ethical conduct, our inner development, and our understanding of karma.
Precisely. Blessings are attained through our own efforts, our moral integrity, our inner transformation, and our understanding of the Dhamma, not through mere rituals or prayers hoping for external intervention. We are encouraged to actively engage in wholesome deeds, consistently listen to the teachings, and diligently practice the threefold training of ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. As the Dhammapada beautifully states, to avoid all evil, to cultivate good, and to purify one's mind, this is the teaching of the Buddhas. And as the Therigatha declares, homage to you, O Buddha, O hero, freed in every way, meditating in the fruits of your practice, I live without defilements.
A truly comprehensive and insightful guide to living a blessed life, grounded in our own actions.
May the merit of this deep dive extend to all our teachers, parents, relatives, and indeed all beings. May we always have the opportunity to associate with the wise until we reach liberation. And for those listeners who feel inspired to support the valuable work of Sayalay Susila and the Appamada Vihari Meditation Center, you can find more information on their website or contact them via email if you wish.
Jadu.